Now let's get started with the goddamn show.
All right.
Today we're going to be talking about mayhem, madness, murder, and tigers. And more tigers and more murder and more mischief. This is Tiger King, a show that probably would not have gone anywhere if it didn't show up on Netflix during a pandemic when people had literally nothing else to watch.
Yeah.
And now
That's the only reason I watched it.
Yeah, me too. Now it's a worldwide phenomenon.
I actually watched it only after the memes started coming out. I started seeing all the memes about it, and I'm like, all right, I got to check this out. Because it was like just crazy memes about like tigers and methamphetamines. And I was like, all right, well, okay, what is this show?
I think I was in a group chat, and somebody in the chat was like sent something about it, or they were like, hey, did you watch that Tiger King thing yet? And we were like, no, what is it? And he like briefly describes it, and then I see the trailer and I'm like, oh good god.
It was yeah, when I like started to like look at like videos and stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I have to. I think probably the most famous, like, where he has to go tell the crowd of people that someone lost their arm, and then he's like, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. I think that was probably like the first clip of Tiger King that I saw.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you only care about the financials.
Of course.
Of course. Not to mention that the person whose arm got like mauled off by a tiger was like his employee.
Yeah, and it's funny because she didn't even like really care that much. She's like, "Oh, whatever, I lost my arm."
Yeah,
and she was still like,
his employees are like the only people that have any real redeeming value to them, because they're just they're just kind of like a band of misfits. I don't want to call them a ragtag group of rogues essentially, but they'd be more of a band of misfits, and he helped them out. He like gave them employment when other people would not, which I don't know. I think with all these like crazy big cat people, I think it starts from a good place and then like it just takes on a life of its own, and then the ego gets like super like jacked up.
Well, that's definitely
like,
what happened.
Yeah, it's
Joe
just
Exotic's.
Well, I mean, him and probably with the Doc Antle guy too. Like that guy's a maniac as well.
Well, that guy is like clearly just full of himself.
Oh yeah.
I think Joe Exotic started with like his heart in the right place, and just kind of like fell to the dark side over time. Especially after the whole like Carol Baskin lawsuit, kind of like just like drove him deeper and deeper into a hole that he just couldn't get out of.
Yeah.
But even if you look how he started, he wanted this. He started doing shows to be anti-drug because of what happened to his brother. So if you look where he started and where he ended up, it blows my mind to see that big of a change.
Yeah.
When you start to where you end.
Yeah. Well, he was doing magic too. Like he wanted to do this as part of like a magic act.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he like also kind of had like this thing that he wanted to do with like country music, which he ended up not really playing or singing on any of the. He never actually did any of the music that he like
claimed to
do.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Yeah. He apparently also didn't tell the people that had recorded the actual vocals that he was going to do that. Like make a music video where he was singing their vocals, basically.
Oh God.
And it's weird because he does actually sing. Like, there's that scene where when his husband died, and he sang at the funeral, and you could tell it's him singing. It wasn't just like a recording. So it's like he could actually sing, but I guess he didn't sing good enough to like be the lead singer or something. I don't know. I guess he had a standard in his head that he couldn't quite reach, so he figured I'll just do this. Yeah.
They said here too, he did do a little bit of singing on some of the songs, so that's why they chose not to call him out on it at all on the show for fact checking. There was just enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was probably like background noises more than anything.
Yeah, it was probably just the harmonies, vocal harmonies and stuff that he sang.
Yeah. So he can technically say that he did do the country music.
Right. Yeah, on a technicality, basically.
Yeah.
And then presented it as he was the only singer,
Yeah. And then he had this. He had the other guy who was like, who was just like, kind of like the stunt guy or whatever. He was just like a weird Gonzo reporter kind of guy, and he
Rick Kirkham.
Rick Kirkham, and he just filmed a bunch of stuff for him anyway of the Joe Exotic TV stuff, which ended up just like he just wanted to do reality TV basically, and he was trying to pitch the show, and then all the crazy Carol Baskin stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for that guy because he had like so much footage, and he was gonna like really sell it, and then when I guess they had that like fire at the zoo, he lost like all the like thousands of hours of footage that he was going to do for this reality TV show, and I'm pretty sure he had a nervous breakdown after that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he said he did.
So I mean, I feel like everybody that really was attached to this really did not come out great.
No, I mean the guy who probably came out the worst for wear, other than like the Joe Exotic guy who's now in a federal prison.
Yeah.
Don Lewis also did not come out of this well. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Is the poor kid who was like doing his campaign.
Oh yeah.
That guy, like, oh man.
Yeah, that guy really kind of like fell down a deep dark hole.
I mean, could you blame the guy? He like he saw a guy like commit suicide by mistake.
Yeah, right before his eyes. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I they say it was a mistake, but like really wasn't there's speculation it wasn't really a mistake.
Yeah.
That, he was just that it was Joe Exotic's husband. What was his name?
Travis.
Travis, yeah, Travis. Yeah. The guy was clearly not happy.
Well, both of his first two husbands. So Joe Exotic was married to like two guys that ended up actually being straight, and he basically just kind of they don't really get into detail, but he kind of lured them in with like drugs or some kind, or like
meth and tigers.
Yeah, yeah, meth and tigers. That sounds like an album.
Yeah,
Meth and Tigers.
That'll be Joe Exotic's comeback album when he gets out of prison.
Yeah, good song. Good song.
Same Clown Posse is one of the guest artists.
What was I saying? Oh, so yeah, clearly he wasn't happy. Again, this is a straight man that's in a relationship with a gay man just because he's addicted to drugs, and the gay guy keeps feeding him drugs. And so I mean, there's a lot of speculation that he did just kill. He actually intended to kill himself, and just kind of made it look like an accident. Obviously
he was sleeping with like all the women at the park too.
Yeah.
Which,
that was the thing. I think he fathered a child, or his other husband fathered a child with one of the women that worked at the park.
Yeah, the John Finley guy who like throughout the whole documentary he's totally shirtless, and he has these like terrible like meth teeth.
Yeah. Apparently he
did
has
get
gotten
new
his teeth fixed.
Yes,
yeah.
I was gonna say he got some new chompers, and I read an interview that he was very disappointed that they did not feature that.
Yeah, because he had gotten his teeth during the filming of the documentary. So, but yeah, they didn't actually put that in. So he kind of came out looking bad.
Yeah, kind of lame.
Points to people where they made them look bad, like him always being in the rocking chair, poorly lit, with his teeth missing.
Yeah.
Or what about that other hitman guy randomly in a bathtub?
That was weird.
Yeah, that was a strange.
All these I think they were trying to sometimes paint them in as bad of a light as they could.
I think so. I think in some aspects they definitely were.
I mean, to be
fair, why would they do an interview like that? But also on top of that, like, why would you let somebody produce you that way? Like,
yes,
like you got to take like you got to look at it from the other side too. Like, one, like, yes, they're like these guys are jerks for like intentionally filming things a certain way. And then editing them a certain way, like with the purpose of making these people look unredeeming. But on the other side, if you're the guy like if you're the guy or gal who's like doing the interview, and it's like someone's like, "Oh, why don't you talk about that time that person tried to make you do a hit on somebody?" And like, why don't you say it in the bathtub? Like, if you're like, if you don't like think about it, and you're just like, yeah, okay, then I mean, you kind of deserve what happens next.
Well, yeah, I mean, they knew what they were getting into.
Thing.
I mean, apparently, some of the people that were featured in the documentary series have come out. Like Carol Baskin specifically has said that the documentary film crew kind of misrepresented themselves.
Yeah.
About what the documentary was going to be. Which, to be fair, I think they went in not intending it to be what it became.
That's what I heard too. I think
they just wanted to kind of film this whole, like, you know, people that own private zoos, and like it kind of like explode because the people that did own it are like the cartoon characters, like literally, like. I mean, every single one of them is a crazy person. There's not one like normal person. I mean, I guess you really have to be kind of crazy to want to own tigers and like make that your living.
You know, but, I mean, the weirdest thing was like the one guy who seemed like the most normal was the guy who was like the former drug lord.
Yeah, the guy who was like a Colombian drug lord is the guy who was kind of like the most likable character and seemed to be like the most normal out of everybody. I mean, that just goes to show you, like, you know, that's kind of like the theme of this show is like, that's the most normal guy. Well, then Jesus, like the other people must be like really like out of it. Like, even like Carol Baskin, who is, you know, supposed to be like the good guy, I guess, in this case, is a psychopath. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I honestly believe that she did kill her husband.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, I mean, especially since the documentary has kind of like reinvigorated the like case, and now they're like investigating it again because of like the popularity of the documentary. Like there's definitely more to that story than what's being told by Carol.
Well, I honestly think he wanted to disappear, and he just took his millions off to some island somewhere and disappeared. Had all this paperwork show up like it did. The easiest way for all this to happen is he wanted it out, and he's like, I will give you half if you let me leave and help me get out. And that's my theory, until they find a body.
I mean, but if she fed the body to the tigers, then they'll never find it, you know? That's the thing.
To me, that was such a wild idea. Like, is a tiger really going to eat a whole human body that quickly with all the evidence gone, hair, DNA, everything?
No, I mean, you'd have to really you'd have to put in some work to dispose of the body.
Yeah, you'd have to dismember it. It wouldn't. I don't think a tiger would eat the whole thing.
No,
wholly.
you can't give it to Even if you like gators, maybe.
Yeah,
but probably like if there was like a nest of gators, probably. But like a tiger, no. Even several tigers, it would still take a few days, and there would still be scraps left because they're not going to pick everything clean.
Oh, and the bones too. They don't,
the bones would totally be there. So she would have had to dismember him, and or like dissolve parts of him.
Yeah.
I don't even know, and then like grind him up. I don't know. There's a lot of
incriminating evidence against her because.
Oh yeah.
You know, she had sold like 3 parcels of land for like just under the amount that needs to be reported to the IRS to one of her like employees, like the handyman that worked at the zoo. And apparently then those pieces of land that she sold to him were worth $100,000 each, but she sold them for like I said, like 9,000 and something. It was just under the amount that you would need to like report to the IRS, basically. Yeah, so that's like a red flag that, you know, something was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel bad for her because she's a victim of rape, and she just had like a really terrible. She had a terrible upbringing, and like this guy made it seem like he was going to save her, and he just turned into, you know, exactly what she was running from. Yeah. So, like, I'm not so like, you know, there's a lot of mental health issues at play here as well. Yeah. So
definitely.
I do feel bad for her that, like, you know, she's getting dragged into all of this, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of there's a lot of evidence that says that she did kill her husband.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody that was, except for Jeff Lowe. Jeff Lowe's just a straight up douchebag and has no redeeming qualities.
No, that guy's an asshole.
I think for the most part, even Joe Exotic, even though he's done abhorrent things and obviously deserves to be in jail, he was kind of a little bit of a sympathetic character, because you could tell that he really kind of started out with good intentions and then, like I said before, just kind of went down this path into darkness. And you could really see over the course of the whole documentary how he kind of went from this happy-go-lucky guy to just this person that's awful,
Yeah.
But I would say Doc Antle's kind of scummy too. I don't think he has really that many redeeming qualities.
Oh, Doc Antle is terrifying.
Yeah, he's a friggin' Charlie Manson level cultist basically.
He's a Bond villain come to life without the world domination.
Yeah, but when he rides in on that elephant, that is totally a world domination entrance.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it's creepy the way he has he gets these young girls to work at his zoo and then marries them all. And it's it's creepy. And then they had the one girl that was kind of escaped from the life talking. And it's when you hear what her story was, it's wow, he really is running a cult pretty much.
Oh yeah, he did a number on her.
Yeah.
It's, and on top of that, he's putting down the tigers after they get too big.
Oh yeah.
She was saying that just tigers would just disappear, or animals would disappear, and they had the suspicion that that he was killing the tigers, and the guy has such a huge property, and all these women are living in squalor, beautiful women too, but he I guess they're all from broken homes and they're runaways and they're looking for refuge, so he just lures them in, with oh hey, I have tigers, or I have animals, or come be free with all the animals, and he christened himself as Bhagva, right?
Yes.
Which is Lord.
Yes. Yeah,
that's the thing. All these big animal collectors, they're predators, just like the animals they're collecting.
Yeah.
To prey upon them, and it's even Joe Exotic says it at one point that him and Doc Antle are kind of two sides of the same coin, where one is, for lack of a better term, one is more affluent and one is a little more trailer park. He kind of described it that way, but they're both predators who have their prey that they go after, and one is young girls and the other is young boys. But
and I guess there's this allure of tigers that these people can lure people impressionable youth in with. I guess I don't know. I don't think I would ever, do some of the things that they did just to for tigers. But I guess I'm also not addicted to meth, so that kind of helps,
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
With all the stimulus coming in now, we can actually get some tigers. We can get some meth, and we can put a video up.
That's true.
And show the nice people out there, a Mythbuster style experiment, if this will actually happen.
Methbusters. Here we go.
Yeah, Methbusters. On this episode of Methbusters.
It's just people. What if that was a real show? If it just was Methbusters. It was just like people they get really high on meth and they try to debunk mysteries. And the whole how long would an episode go before they get off a tangent? I feel like you could have some big Vegas stakes on how long they go before they just abandon it altogether.
Yeah.
I feel like some people would win a house and some people would lose a house on that. Today on Methbusters, holy shit!
It would probably have to take place in Florida also, because let's face it, that's a Florida man show.
Yeah.
Well, the murders, he did try to murder her in Florida, so when it went off the rails, it had to move into Florida.
Of course.
Of course it did.
Yeah, because it's Florida. I mean, Joe Exotic really is the ultimate Florida man. He just happened to not live in Florida, but like this, he is like the Florida man. He's the Florida man messiah, basically.